This is Chō Kuse Pt.1, an anime which you have never heard of. Except, actually, you should have. Some predicted it would replace Sailor Moon, and actually, it's quite closely tied to Sailor Moon in general. But then where's the fanbase? Today, I'm talking about the obscure Nakayoshi anime Chō Kuse Pt.1 at length for the first time in the history of YouTube, and why so much of it is unwatchable today. So, at first glance, this franchise might just seem like a typical rom-com about a singing idol and one of her fans. And, yeah, in some ways it is. But I absolutely love those parts anyway, so I'm not about to call it a bad thing. Other than that, though, this anime's main claim to fame is that said idol, Nagisa, has a habit of cross-dressing. So much so that her classmates think she's a boy. Okay, I can't not talk about this anymore. That couple, Nagisa and Nosaka, are absolutely adorable. Every second they're on screen together is my favorite part. They're just so cute, I can't get over it. Alright, this pace isn't really working. Let's do a main cast lightning round. Otori Nagisa, the main character and martial artist masquerading as an idol masquerading as a schoolboy. She's one heck of a tomboy, but still knows how to be crazy cute too. Nosaka Akira, Nagisa's boyfriend and the leader of the Shirayuki middle delinquents. Also hailing from a martial arts background, he and Nagisa can take down a small army, yet can't stand being apart. Despite his strength, he's a pretty gentle and caring guy. He'd probably be a pretty cool dude in real life. Momoko Priscilla. Originating in the sequel manga, Momoko has ambition, and lots of it. She aims to become a worldwide idol, and chooses to prove herself by harassing the other cast with her random performances. Later on, Momoko develops a very interesting but very sad backstory. Though despite my empathetic side, I can't find it in me to look past her narcissism. Kamioka Ryu. Oh, how cute. Kamioka is my all-time favorite character, and it all comes down to his loyalty, his voice, his inability to compare to his idol and boss, Momoko. It's all so adorable. Kamioka deserves a hug. Tsunoda. This guy's awesome and awful all at once. On first impression, he seems like a plain antagonistic character, but his backstory kinda changes your perspective and makes me think that he's generally a pretty cool guy. But then again, he sees Nagisa as a prize to be won, so I'm just gonna pretend I never said any of that. Gold Shibata. He's impressively queer and relentlessly fascinating, and his song is simply excellent. He's a fearsome yet pitiful threat in the episodes he chooses to antagonize in, and is quite a fun character to have overall. Well, I skipped over a notable character or two there. There's also Nakatake, who is Nagisa's manager. He's pretty sympathetic, but there's not that much to be said about him. And I also excluded Red Beetle, as going into any kind of detail about her would entail massive spoilers. But how about I talk about a couple episodes I really like? Episodes 1 and 2. They form the plot of the original manga, and this story is what roped me into this whole mess in the first place. They'll always hold a special place in my heart. Episode 8, Tsunoda's semi-redemption episode. It dives into his backstory and really makes me feel bad for this actual talking volcano. Skip episode 10, do not engage. Episode 11. I cannot get enough of American Nagisa. She's up there with Kamioka in terms of favorite characters, to be honest. Episode 14.
Don Corleone Jr.
is such a sweet little twerp, I gotta say. His duet with Nagisa at the end of the episode is really one of my favorite scenes, to be honest. But then again, I have a lot of those, so it's not saying much. Skip episode 15. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. Episode 16. I'm honestly just surprised I enjoyed a story about a sports match. Football's not really my thing. Or soccer if you're American. Or Japanese. Episode 19. God, that scene with Nagisa and Nosaka on a bike together is just so heartwarming. Episode 22. Damn, how do I actually feel bad for Momoko when I watch this one? What is this, witchcraft? Well, I haven't seen any further episodes without the proper context, aka subtitles, so I'll not be commenting on them just yet. Volume 9 has some real good music, though. You're about to listen to it, whether you like it or not. Alright, are we all back to reality? Because I'd also like to talk about the show's use of contemporary technology, aka computer effects. They're really well done. They don't cross the line into the territory of aged poorly, and I really appreciate how they turned out in the end. Except, the intro logo is pretty obviously computer generated. It looks a little weird and aliased, but it's fine as long as you don't look too closely at it, so... In terms of art style, once it finds its footing, this show looks absolutely amazing. I absolutely cannot get over how good anything past episode 10 or so looks. It's all so colorful. And then they changed it in, episode 25. Now it has this harsher look to it all. Now, don't get me wrong. This higher budget animation is really nice too. But, come on. This just has more personality. I would have appreciated that budget going to putting out a Laserdisc release, but oh well. The distributor, Taki, had barely any experience with Laserdisc, and also the last couple episodes, once they worked out the new style, do look pretty dang good, so I'll take it. So, Chō Kuse Pt.1 has teetered on the edge of becoming lost to media for a long time now. There's a couple of reasons for that, and I'll dive deeper on them in parts 2 and 3, but for now, suffice it to say that it's a particularly rare anime. But I've been taking care of that, and now most of it is watchable. With how rare and unknown it is, the only reason I'm here telling you about it is because of a video game. You're gonna need more details than that, aren't you? Right, So, there is of course also the manga series. Its story is completely different to the animes, but it's not really been translated aside from the one-shot, translated by me, so we're just gonna leave that as a story for another time. Back in 1994, Nakayoshi had Nagisa and Osaka featured in a crossover promotional game called Panic in Nakayoshi World, and that looks like this. Now, ordinarily that wouldn't mean that much, but the game also featured, what else in 90s Japan, but Sailor Moon. Now, here's where I come in. Back in December 2022, I was absolutely crazy about Sailor Moon. It was my first ever anime, and I was just eating it up. I found out that it had a couple of video games, so I got a couple of them, and as a result, I was recommended this crossover game. I ended up buying it, loving the game, and I got kinda curious about the other featured characters, so I looked into it. I looked at Kurumi, and it didn't really interest me. And then I looked at Goldfish Warning, and I'm less interested in 80s animanga. But then I looked into Chō Kuse, and when I found out what it was about, and when I watched the first episode, I loved it. And so now, a year and a half later, here I am, squabbling about it on YouTube. There have been a handful of translations over the years into a couple different languages. But seeing as this video was made and targeted at English speakers, let's start with the English translation. Unfortunately, there aren't exactly a ton of subtitlers who have worked with this show, and what there is doesn't even cover the whole anime. Seeing as I've been collecting and uploading the original release of the show, I figured I'd take a crack at subtitling it myself. But while I do know a little Japanese, konnichiwa, atashi wa Shiera desu, I'm not very good with it. Nihongo wa muzakashi. Warui nihongo de gomenasai. So yeah, I don't have the experience required to make good subtitles. And a lot of the footage I've been able to get my hands on has never been previously translated either. So some of the episodes I've uploaded are only watchable in Japanese for the time being. Still, I have subtitled a couple more or less random episodes. Also, this isn't on the script, but I would like to say that go ahead and use my uploads if you want to subtitle the show. I honestly don't mind. I'd be very happy to know that my work was useful in the end. But back in the late 90s, these Tomodachi guys subtitled the first 16 episodes, and that's what these are. But then in 2011, another group came along called Anon Russia, or Anonymous Russian Soldiers, and subtitled the next 4 episodes. But badly. But still, 20 episodes is not half bad. I mean, how many more could there even be to do? Oh. Yeah, there's still 19 more to do. As of writing, I have gotten a couple more done, but the main thing I did was hand convert the old Tomodachi subtitles, which was agonizing. But still, I would like to translate the rest of the show eventually if someone else doesn't come along. I guess on that topic, here's a sample of what I have already done. So, beyond the English translations, there is a lot more to talk about here, especially for such an obscure series. Things haven't always been this way, huh? Let's start off strong with
Li do Nagisa, com m'agrada tot això.
This dub is in Catalan. Regardless, according to a handful of accounts, this dub released in 2006. Pretty late, over a decade after the conclusion of the original anime. Also, this dub is lost media. What a great sign for the other dubs. But what it does have over the others is that a fan captured 15 of the dubbed songs on original broadcast and has posted them onto their website. Shout out to Amiboshi.cat for preserving history. I have actually uploaded a bunch of them onto my other channel, synced to my Japanese VHS captures. It gives a really neat taste of what the dub must have been like. Another notable factoid about Idol Nagisa is that there's a claim that DVDs were made for it. I couldn't prove that. I even dug through archive.org captures of the website of Selectivision, the listed distributor, and I couldn't dig up a mention. But judging from a bunch of old forum posts, the dub never really got much attention, so they may just not have been captured. There definitely seems to be a majority of the website missing, unfortunately. And also, I added this to the script a little while later, but I messaged the one guy I figured might know about a Catalan DVD release, Amiboshi. They say that it's most likely an error on the part of Anime News Network. Still, if DVDs exist, I want them bad. On to the next dub. This dub's name is
쏙 빠져들 것 같아.
Once again, this dub is notable because of its release year. I have read from a single uncited source that this dub was released in 2005. If true, that means that it's not impossible that DVDs could exist for this one too, but that's just speculation on my part. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about this dub. It's on the less talked about side, which for a forgotten show, you'd be surprised to know that it can have varying amounts of discussion. But one of the few times that it has been brought up is when this dub technically got some fan art. The artist's name is Rock, and I absolutely love the art style they used in this comic. Unfortunately, they didn't want me to show the artwork here, but you'll find links to it in all the places. It's kinda cute seeing Rock trying to recall a show that they clearly remember fondly, even if they're struggling to remember it at all. It makes me sad to know that the version they watched in their youth is lost media now. Oh, I also find it interesting that Kazue's second episode is being brought up here. Quote, translated, Nagisa's substitute had her debut and became Nagisa's rival. That means that this dub made it all the way to episode 30, and if it got that far, presumably made it to the end too. To be clear though, I'm not certain this is the dub that Rock saw, because there's two? Yes, two! This dub is called
천방지축 합의.
but I generally just call it by its broadcast name, Habit. It was released in 1995 by the looks of things. Only one source claims so though, and another says 1992. The manga began serialization in 1993. Anyway, Habit. Released by the Korean company Dai Young Panda, probably pronounced that wrong, who's still doing business today actually. That's an achievement for this anime. This dub is so not talked about that I wound up in its search results just by posting about it. I know for pretty much certain that it got a physical release, but I'm struggling to find any copies of it for sale. Beyond that though, there's not a ton to be said. Except, let me go off script for a second and say that this is my personal favorite of the bunch. With that, let's talk about the last and most mysterious of the dubs, and how it has one of the best songs in the franchise.
偶像小英雌
The dub I recklessly assumed was Chinese. This dub appears to have also released in 1995, going off of an old Facebook post celebrating its anniversary. Cantonese is about as far as you can get from me having a chance at understanding it though, so in short, I got nothing. All I can say for sure is, this dub exists. Except, its opening is really, really good. Like, unreasonably good. Like, it doesn't even fit with the show kinda good. What does that mean? I don't know. And now that you know about all the translations, let's talk about preserving them. So, as I mentioned before, every single one of these dubs is lost media. And to make it worse, all the companies that own the show either don't care about it enough to re-release it, or simply don't exist anymore. If you happen to have any of the media for them, it would be an immensely helpful gesture if you could let me know so I can finally add it to the archive. Well, I guess I may as well address this directly. Please don't be scared of helping the cause. What I'm doing might seem to you to be harmful to the companies that own the show, but as I mentioned before, they couldn't care less about Chō Kuse. Whether or not I preserve it, they don't care, because it's not on offer in any modern format. There's no streaming it, no Blu-rays or DVDs for sale, nothing. And some versions of the show are just not available at all, because they never got an official release, even on VHS. And so, regardless of fans' own preservation projects, none of the companies that have worked with Chō Kuse would be making a single cent, yen, won, etc. off of it. But, if by some stroke of luck that a version of the anime is re-released, I promise to take down that version's content immediately. I say this partly because, as of writing and voice acting for that matter, I'm holding out just a glimmer of hope that a re-release will be announced for the 30th anniversary of the show. But frankly, it's not looking good. My only intention is to keep the show watchable in a world where its creators and owners fail to do so. But, regardless of all those promises, unless credit is requested, I will be leaving contributors to the archive anonymous. Oh, and also, kind of a footnote, but it's still worth mentioning. I'm still missing a couple of the Japanese volumes, so I can't preserve a handful of the original episodes. Specifically, volumes 1 and 10 have eluded me since I started this hunt back in January 2023. But, if you're watching this video off in the far future, please check the description for an updated list of missing media. So, to repeat, I'm tired. I've been searching for this media for well over a year now. If you can contribute anything, even so much as a broadcast recording on VHS, it would be a wonderful gift. Thank you so much for considering this plea. Until next time, I guess. So, I saved properly mentioning this until the end, but happy 30th anniversary, Chō Kuse Pt.1. It's been a rocky couple decades, but here's to the next 30 years being full of the appreciation you deserve. So, in a couple places, I mentioned that I was shooting for a release specifically on April 5th. I said that because of the 30th anniversary, but funnily enough, it was also very helpful with the production process. I ended up throwing out almost the entire completed video. I reused a couple scenes, and all of part 2, but everything else is brand new. If I hadn't allocated so much time at the beginning, I would have been forced to release the unfinished second draft version of the video. If for some reason you want to see that version, an assortment of versions of it have been posted on my website. Oh, and while I'm plugging things, I'm going to go ahead and plug my Discord server. It's generally focused on Chō Kuse, and I post decently regular updates on the status of my work on the anime and manga. This Nakayoshi nerd is out.